Amara was the kind of girl people didn't notice. At school, she sat on the last bench. She never raised her hand in class. No one invited her to birthday parties. No one saved a seat for her at lunch. Sometimes, even teachers forgot her name. Group photos, she was always standing at the edge, half smiling, half lost. It was like she was there, but not really. Amara lived in a small town with her mother and younger brother. Her father had passed away when she was just 7. He used to be an archer. Her mother often told stories about him, how he could hit a small apple from far away, how he once trained for national competitions. Amara never forgot those stories. There was something about the bow and arrow that pulled her heart. Sometimes, late at night, when the world was quiet, she would go into the backyard. She had found her father's old wooden bow in the storeroom. It was dusty and cracked, but it still felt special. She would hold it in her hands, close her eyes, and imagine herself shooting an arrow into the sky. But it was just a dream. No one like her, quiet, weak, and invisible, could do anything special. That's what the world had shown her again and again, until one Monday morning, everything began to change. It started with a notice on the school wall. Annual sports selection, archery tryouts, this Friday. Amara stopped when she saw it. Her heart started beating faster. Archery. The word alone made her feel something. She couldn't explain. Her father loved it. Could she, maybe, try? She stared at the paper for a long time. Behind her, a group of loud students walked by. One of them laughed. "Who even joins archery anymore? Only nerds." Another added, "That Leah girl will win again like every year." Leah was the school star, beautiful, confident, and skilled in everything. Everyone loved her. Teachers praised her. Students followed her. And she was the archery champion, 3 years in a row. Amara lowered her eyes. She wasn't Leah. She wasn't even close. That night at dinner, she quietly asked her mom, "Can I join the archery tryouts?" Her mother looked surprised. "Archery? Are they holding tryouts?" Amara nodded. "This Friday." Her mom smiled slowly. "Your father would have been proud." Amara's little brother laughed. "But you don't even know how to shoot an arrow." Amara didn't reply. She just looked down at her food. Later that night, when everyone had gone to sleep, she took the old bow again and walked to the backyard. The moon was high. The air was cold. She set up a small target made of cardboard and tried to pull the string. It was hard. Her arms shook. The arrow fell. She tried again, and again, and again. She didn't care if she was failing. She was trying. Every evening after school, she practiced in secret. Her fingers got sore. Her back ached. But every night, she got a little better. She started learning where to aim, how to breathe, and when to release. She watched old videos on YouTube. She wrote down tips in a small notebook. Still, she told no one, not even her mother. Friday came. The sun was bright, and the school field was filled with students. Some were excited. Some were just there for fun. And some, like Leah and her friends, were there to win. Amara walked to the tryout line slowly. Some girls looked at her and giggled. One said, "Why is she here?" Another whispered loudly, "Did she even bring a bow? Oh, wait, look at that old thing." They laughed at her father's bow, but Amara didn't look at them. She just walked to the side and waited her turn. The coach looked at her with a frown. "You sure you're in the right group?" Amara nodded quietly. "All right," he said. "Let's see what you've got." She stepped up to the line. Her hands trembled. Her heart was loud in her chest. The field was silent. She pulled the string back, took a breath, and released. The arrow didn't even reach the target. People laughed. Leah smirked. "That was cute," she said, rolling her eyes. Amara looked at the arrow lying far from the target. Her face turned red, but she didn't cry. She just picked up another arrow and tried again. It missed again. Everyone thought she was wasting time. Some told the coach to skip her turn, but she stayed. She kept trying. She didn't care how she looked, because deep inside her, something had started to wake up, a quiet fire, a voice that said, "They may not see you now, but they will." And that was just the beginning. The school tryouts ended, and Amara walked home with dust on her shoes and silence in her heart. She hadn't hit even one target. Not even close. The coach hadn't said much, just looked at her with tired eyes and moved on to the next student. Others had laughed, whispered, or ignored her, but none of it mattered. Because for the first time in her life, Amara had stepped forward. At dinner that night, her little brother asked, "So, did you win the gold today?" Amara just smiled and said, "I didn't win anything, but I joined." Her mom gave her a look full of quiet pride. She didn't say much. She just placed a gentle hand on Amara's and whispered, "That's how your father started, too." The next day, the list was posted on the school board. Selected for archery team: Leah Carter, Mira. James Priya. Dasamara Kanamara stared at her name. Her name was there. She blinked twice, thinking maybe she was dreaming. But it was real. People started gathering around the list. Leah arrived with her friends. She looked at the names and laughed loudly. "Wait, Amara? Is this some kind of mistake?" One of her friends said, "Maybe they just needed a backup, like a water girl." Everyone laughed. Amara stood nearby but didn't say anything. The coach walked by and said, "You four, practice starts tomorrow at 4 p.m. Be on time." Leah raised her hand. "Coach, I don't mean to be rude, but are you sure she belongs on the team?" The coach looked at Amara for a long moment. "She has spirit. Let's see what she does with it." Leah rolled her eyes. "Fine. Let's not waste arrows, though." Practice began the next day. The school had an old archery field with wooden targets and faded white lines on the ground. The sun was hot and the wind was slow. Leah and the other girls took their places confidently. Amara stood at the far end, holding her father's bow. It looked old. It was old. The grip was worn out. The string was not smooth, but it was hers. She took her position, tried to focus, remembered what she had learned in the backyard. Her first shot missed. Second also missed. By the third arrow, Leah shouted, "Coach, maybe give her a bigger target, like a truck." Laughter again. Amara said nothing. She just kept shooting. She didn't get angry. She didn't cry. She just stood in the heat and tried again and again. After practice, while the others left talking and giggling, Amara stayed behind. She picked up the fallen arrows, placed them back in her bag, and sat quietly on a bench. The coach walked over. "You don't say much, do you?" Amara shook her head. "I just want to get better." The coach nodded. "You've got heart. That's good. But heart alone doesn't win medals." Amara looked up. "Can I come early tomorrow, before practice? I want to learn more." The coach raised an eyebrow. "Before school?" She nodded. He thought for a moment. "All right, be here by 6 a.m. Let's see how serious you are." The next morning, the sun hadn't even risen fully when Amara reached the field. It was quiet, cool, peaceful. The coach was already there drinking tea from a steel cup. "You really came," he said. Amara smiled a little. "I told you I want to get better." For the next hour, he showed her how to stand properly, how to grip the bow, how to use her breathing. Amara listened carefully. She didn't ask too many questions. She just focused. When the other girls arrived for regular practice, they were surprised to see Amara already on the field, sweating, practicing, breathing heavily. "Trying too hard, aren't you?" Leah said. Amara didn't reply, because inside her something stronger was growing. Stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. Hope. 1 week later, a small inter-school event was announced. It wasn't a big competition, just a warm-up round. But the coach had to pick only 2 girls to represent the school. Everyone thought it would be Leah and Mira. But during team review, the coach said something unexpected. For this match, Leah and Amara will play. The room went silent. Leah stood up. Excuse me? Her? Over Mira? The coach didn't blink. She's improving fast. I believe she deserves a chance. Leah scoffed. If we lose because of her, don't say I didn't. Warn you. Amara looked down. Her heart beat fast. She wanted to say something, but she didn't. She just whispered to herself, "Let my arrows speak." The day of the inter-school match arrived. Amara stood quietly at the edge of the field, holding her bow tightly. Her palms were sweaty, and her heart was beating faster than ever before. She looked around. So many students, so many eyes. Most of those eyes were not looking at her, they were looking at Leah. Leah stood tall, wearing her new archery jacket with her name stitched on the back. She smiled for the cameras. She waved at the crowd. People clapped and cheered. Teachers called her our golden girl. Amara, in her plain school uniform and holding her old wooden bow, stayed silent. She didn't need cheers. She needed focus. The coach walked over. "You ready?" he asked. Amara nodded. "I've been practicing." He gave a short smile. "Then trust yourself. Breathe. Aim. Let go." The match began. Leah took the first round. She hit the bullseye. Twice. The crowd clapped loudly. Then, it was Amara's turn. She stepped forward. The field went quiet. She took a deep breath, pulled the string, aimed, and missed. There was a short silence. Her second arrow missed too. Whispers began in the crowd. Some students laughed softly. Maybe the coach made a mistake. Why is she even here? Leah smirked and whispered to her friend. Told you, she's not ready. Amara heard it all, but she didn't react. She just kept shooting. Third arrow. Missed. After the match, things changed for Amara. Not outside, but inside her heart. She knew she had something special, but she also knew it was hidden deep beneath the fear and silence. Now, it was time to bring it out. Every morning before the sun woke up, Amara was already outside. The streets were quiet, and the air was fresh. While other kids were still sleeping or scrolling on their phones, Amara was walking to the old archery field. Her father's wooden bow was in her hands. The same, one she had used since day one. The first few days, her arms hurt. Her fingers bled from pulling the tight string again and again. But she didn't stop. She practiced the same shot, over and over. Pull, aim, release. Pull, aim, release. Sometimes she missed. Sometimes the arrow flew crooked. But she learned with every shot. No one was there to watch her. No one laughed or teased. It was just her, the bow, and the early morning silence. Her mother noticed the change, too. One evening, she asked softly, Amara, why do you wake up so early every day? Amara smiled, but didn't say much. I want to be better, she finally said. Her mother nodded, eyes full of pride. You remind me of your father, she said. Amara felt warmth in her chest. Her father's spirit was with her. Days turned into weeks. Amara's arms grew stronger. Her aim got steadier. Her coach was surprised, too. At every practice, she was sharper, faster, more focused. One afternoon, after a long session, the coach said, You're ready for the next challenge. Amara's heart jumped. The school was organizing a citywide archery competition. The best archers from different schools would come to compete. Leah was already preparing for it, confident she would win again. Amara felt nervous but also excited. This was her chance to prove herself. She knew it wouldn't be easy. Leah was talented, popular, and everyone's favorite. But Amara had something more now. silent strength. One night after practice, Amara sat on the rooftop and looked at the stars, she whispered. This time I will not be in the background. She was ready to step into the light, because sometimes the strongest battles are fought quietly, away from the crowd, and sometimes the quietest voices make the loudest noise. The city archery competition was the biggest event Amara had ever faced. The crowd was huge. Parents, students, teachers, and even reporters. Cameras flashed, voices buzzed. Leah walked confidently to the field, smiling like she already owned the trophy. Amara felt nervous but also ready. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her father's bow in her hands. The coach whispered, "Remember, shoot with your heart. Trust yourself." The match began. Leah went first. Her arrows flew fast and true, hitting the center every time. The crowd cheered loudly. Then it was Amara's turn. She stepped forward. The noise faded. Her world became quiet. She aimed carefully, pulled the string. Release. The arrow flew straight, hitting the bullseye. One after another, Amara's arrows hit the center. The crowd grew quiet, then started to cheer. With every shot, she grew stronger. When the final arrow flew, it didn't just hit the bullseye, it broke the previous record. No one expected that. Leah looked shocked. The crowd stood, up, clapping loudly. Amara's heart was pounding. The coach smiled proudly. "You did it!" Amara looked up, tears in her eyes. She wasn't the girl in the background anymore. She was a champion, and she had done it with one perfect shot. The field was still. For a few seconds after Amara's record-breaking shot, no one moved. No one spoke. Then suddenly, cheers. Loud, real. From every corner of the stadium, people stood and clapped. Some teachers wiped their eyes. Even students who had never spoken to her before were on their feet. Amara stood still, her chest rising and falling. She couldn't believe it. The girl who once stood in the shadows was now standing at the center of everything. The announcer's voice echoed through the speakers. "New city record, Amara Khan, bullseye in all final shots." Leah stood behind her, silent. For the first time, the spotlight wasn't on her. She looked confused, maybe even a little angry. A reporter ran toward Amara with a microphone. "How did you do it? How does it feel to break the record?" Amara hesitated. She wasn't used to this. She smiled softly and said, "I trained when no one was watching. I believed even when no one did." The coach came forward, placed a medal around her neck and said, "Now the world knows what I've always seen in you." Her mother stood in the audience, tears running down her cheeks. Her little brother was jumping with joy. "That's my sister! That's my sister!" As the crowd continued to cheer, something changed inside Amara. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen, and not just seen, but respected. Later that evening, back at school, students gathered around her locker. "Amara, that was amazing. Can you teach me archery?" "You were so calm. How do you do it?" Amara smiled at them all. She answered kindly. She wasn't proud or arrogant. She was still the same girl, just more confident. Even Leah came up to her. She didn't smile, but she nodded and said, "You shot well today." Amara looked at her and replied, "So did you." It was quiet, but that small exchange meant something. Maybe the beginning of respect. That night, Amara sat on her rooftop again. She looked up, at the stars, holding her medal. Her mother came and sat beside her. "You've made your father proud," she said. Amara looked at her. "I felt like he was with me today." Her mother nodded. "He was." They sat in silence for a moment. Amara whispered, "I don't want to stop here. I want to keep going, higher." Her mother smiled. "Then do it. The world is watching now." But even if they look away again, remember, you shine whether they see you or not. Amara looked at the sky. She was no longer just the quiet girl in the background. She was a symbol of patience, strength, and belief. And her journey wasn't over yet. Months passed. Amara's name began to appear in local newspapers and on school banners. Her photo was put up in the school hallway, right next to past champions. But she didn't stop. While others celebrated, she trained harder. She knew the biggest stage was coming. The National School Archery Championship. It was the highest level for school athletes. Only the top 20 students from across the country were invited, and this year, Amara was one of them. When she arrived at the National Stadium, it felt like a dream. The place was huge. Flags waved. Cameras rolled. The best archers from every city were there, some with shiny bows, expensive gear, and private coaches. Amara stood quietly in her simple tracksuit, holding her old wooden bow. Some students stared at her. One boy laughed. "Is that your real bow? Looks like a toy." Amara didn't reply. She just smiled. She didn't need to impress anyone. She had come to shoot. The first day of the championship was tough. The wind was strong. The targets were farther than usual. Some students got nervous. Some gave up. But not Amara. She remembered her morning practices, the silence, the stillness. She became that silence again, one arrow at a time, straight, calm, true. She made it to the final round, and standing beside her in the finals was Leah. Leah had also reached the national level. She looked surprised to see Amara there. They both stood tall, bows in hand, hearts beating fast. The match began. Leah's first arrow, bullseye. The crowd cheered. Amara's turn. She pulled the string slowly, exhaled, and let go. Bullseye. Again and again, the arrows flew. The scores were close. Very close. Then came the final arrow. One shot would decide the champion. Leah shot first. It hit just near the center, just a little off. Now it was Amara's turn. The stadium went quiet. She closed her eyes for a second. She pictured her father. She pictured the early mornings. She pictured the little girl who once stood in the background. Then, she opened her eyes, pulled the string, held her breath. Released, perfect bullseye. The crowd exploded. The judge raised a hand. New national champion, Amara Khan. After the match, reporters rushed to her. "Amara, you've shocked the whole country. How does it feel?" She smiled and replied in her quiet voice, "They never saw me coming, but I saw myself every day." A girl from another school walked up and said, "You've inspired me. I want to try archery now, because of you." Leah also came forward. This time, she didn't look angry. She extended her hand. "You earned it," Leah said honestly. Amara shook it. "Thank you." Back home, the entire neighborhood celebrated her return. People who once ignored her now waved and smiled. Kids ran beside her bicycle. She was no longer the girl no one noticed. She was Amara, the girl who broke records with one perfect shot. But more than that, she was the girl who proved that silence isn't weakness, and being unseen doesn't mean you don't shine. Amara stood on her rooftop that night, holding the national medal. Her little brother asked, "What now?" She smiled at the stars. "Now," she said, "we aim even higher."